He left Nazareth and made his home in Capernaum by the sea in the territory of Zebulun and Naphtali, so that what had been spoken through the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. The land of Zebulun, the land of Naphtali, on the road by the sea across the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who sat in darkness have seen a great light. And for those who sat in the region and the shadow of death, light has dawned. From that time, Jesus began to proclaim, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near." As he walked by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who was called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fish for people." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. As he went from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John, in the boat with their father Zebedee, mending their nets. And he called them. And immediately they left their boat and the father and followed him. This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Please be seated. Stop the gospel verse 2 short, but that's all right. I tell you, when I step on Carl's line early on, I don't believe in that God's going to smite me, but Carl will be. Listen, thank you. I've been forgiven. I've been baptized. All right. So I want to tell you a story about my son Peter. When Peter was born, I had a glider chair. And like a rocking chair, you go back and forth with a glide back. Thus the name glider chair. And I would have Peter, I have a blanket, and Peter would be laying on the blanket, and Peter would be, I think we had like a Playmobil dangly thing. It might have been a play kit, but he's laying there. And I'm in the glider, and where I would glide up, and I could, it was like it glided just far enough where I couldn't see him, and then I would come back, and I'd see him, and we'd play a little bit of peekaboo, and he's just laying there, flying back and forth. And then I remember distinctly that as I came back for one time, he wasn't there. He was gone. And my heart, I mean, you can imagine. I mean, if you expect to see Wellington there, and you turn in, he's not. He is a baby. He doesn't crawl yet. This was the day, though, he learned how to roll over. And he had rolled over just far enough to where it was out of my peripheral vision, where like I could see him, and then he was gone. And that was the day that I decided I loved my child. That was the day he rolled over. I don't think I ever decided that I loved my child. I just did. Peter was born, and even before he was born, I loved my kid. Absolutely 100%. He had my heart from the beginning. It wasn't when he rolled over. It wasn't when he could actually meet my gaze and he wasn't looking over my shoulder in some cross-eyed fashion. It wasn't when he could actually laugh. It wasn't any time that he was pulling his own weight around the house. I loved Peter from the beginning. The same was with Orion. From the very beginning. Jesus showing up on the beach, and he calls the disciples, Peter and Andrew, James and John. He calls them from what they're doing. And I bring up my love for Peter and my love for Uriah, the fact that I didn't have a choice, but it was just there. That when Peter and Andrew and James and John, when they're called, this is not the day that God decided that he loved them. This is not the day that Jesus went, oh, I love these four, so I'm going to call them. Or this is not the day I decided I'm going to call them and then I'm going to love them. These four disciples that are called into the ministry of God were loved from the very beginning. By the time they were created, they were loved. And then they were called. Loved and called again and again and again. I bring that up because sometimes we can forget what it means to be a child of God, what it means to be in this life that we're part of. That we think that it depends on what I do for God to love me. It depends on, I need to do this just right. I need to do this perfectly in order for me to be loved. My older brother, Bob, he is so typical older brother. I say that as a middle child. He is so typical older brother. And I don't know if that's true, but in my family, he was my older brother. So he's typically my older brother. Now, Bob, he would take story time. I love my brother, and I love the story. Bobby at the time, was given one of those blow-up horses. You know, it's in a ball, and there's the horse head, and you sit on top of the horse, and you bounce, and it's not springy, it's not that kind of horse. It's like a bouncy ball. And I don't even know if they make them now, because you probably need a helmet, because you fall. But he was given this bouncy ball horse. And Bob, in perfect, my older brother, because I don't want to put every older sibling in a box, because my wife is an older sibling and I will pay for her when I get home. But Bob, he was given this. He takes this into his room and he closes the door, and he does not come out of his room again until he can bounce on that bouncy horse perfectly. Because he was so afraid of being laughed at that he would fall off the horse, that he wouldn't do it perfectly, and he would be laughed at. Our God doesn't work like that. Our God calls us into ministry. Our God calls us into this life of faith because God already loves us. How we respond doesn't lessen God's love of us. We are called into ministry. We're called in to do these things because God loves us and God loves the world. Jesus didn't show up on the beach and see these fishermen and go, oh, here are 4 of the best fishermen I have ever met in my life. I want to bring them into my ministry field because they are top notch. These are the same guys that in another story, Jesus shows up and says, hey, have you caught any fish? And I'm like, no. Well, just throw the net onto the other side. Yeah, that makes sense. But they do it. Not because they're the best at their job, but because they know the Lord. I love Peter. I love Peter with all my heart. I love Uriah with all my heart. I love my kids. I love all my kids. likes to do things well. He likes to please his parents. That's just his personality. Does he do things 100% perfect? He's not like his father. I'm so glad you laughed at that. Because I did not want to have to explain that. No one in this room meets that level of perfection. I love the bumper sticker I saw. Christians aren't perfect, they're just forgiven. The point is, of all of this, is that God has called us into ministry. God has called you to be active in this life of faith and to be part of this journey that we're on. And we can either wait until we have it all down perfectly, and we're going to be waiting a long, long time. Or we can take a step out in faith, and we can see where God is calling us to and from, and when God is working on our insides and saying, God, I think I'm being called here. Because God loves you. God loves me. God loves the world. You see, being loved, that's your first call. That's the first thing that God ever did for you in creating you. God said, I love you. And then we're called into ministry. We're given those little and crazy ideas in the back of our brain that God says, here, I want you to try this. And we go, okay. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes that failure is fabulous because it brings up new and wonderful things. There's a congregation in which the congregation is being asked to use things for the church and use things for ministry. And after this presentation, because I think it was like a Saturday morning basement presentation, but after the presentation, where the guy's going, whoever's leading, I think his name's Dave Dogg, but he's leading it and he says, everyone has gifts for ministry. Everyone has gifts for ministry. So afterwards, the guy walks up to him and says, I don't have anything God can use. And Pastor Dave says, I don't believe that's true. What do you like doing? The only thing I like doing is building model airplanes. Pastor Dave says, we're going to figure out a way to use that. So a year later, after school program, where this elderly gentleman is mentoring kids from the middle school on how to make model airplanes. You have to believe that just making model airplanes wasn't the ministry, even though it was. God loves you. God has from the very beginning, and God has called you into